Hey guys, how you doing? This is Renan with Piece of Pie Learning, and today we're going to go over right triangles and the Pythagorean theorem. So first things first, a right triangle is a triangle that has one of its angles being 90 degrees. Right, so as long as one of your angles is a right angle, you have a right triangle. The Pythagorean theorem states that the sides of a right triangle have the relationship a squared plus b squared equals c squared, where a and b are legs, is important, and C is always the hypotenuse, right? So C is always the hypotenuse, and you can identify the hypotenuse because it is opposite to the 90-degree angle, and it is always the longest side. All right, so knowing that, we can apply it here. They gave us two of the leg lengths, right? One is 4 and one is 6. And they're missing the hypotenuse. So we just plug it into the formula, right? 4 squared plus 6 squared equals to x squared. This is 16 plus 36 equals x squared. That becomes 52 equals x squared. And then to get rid of the square, you would square root both sides, right? And then on this step, if you can simplify these quickly, I'm going to do it myself right now. This is how I like to do it. 52 is just 4 times 13. So you can split this up into square root of 4 times square root of 13. The square root of 4 is 2. So you are left with 2 square root of 13. If you don't know what I just did, please check out my video on simplifying radicals and it'll make more sense. Now, if you don't know how to do that, you can still just use a calculator, right? 52 and you square root it. This would be approximately, put it up right here, approximately 7.2. Right, so you could have just stopped right here, x equals square root of 52, put that in your calculator, boom, you get this. Same thing for this triangle, right? The only difference is that now they don't tell you a leg length, right? They give you the hypotenuse and they give you one of the legs. But you apply the same formula, 7 squared plus x squared equals 10 squared. Right, just always remember, the hypotenuse is always C. So here C was X because the hypotenuse was X. Here the hypotenuse was 10, so C was 10. So we get 49 plus X squared equals 100. We subtract 49, right? And you get that X squared is equal to 51. Again, square root. This does not simplify nicely, so I'm just going to use the calculator. And boom, this gives you approximately similar to this one, right? It's like one off, 7.14. So that's what X had to be there. All right, so now I want you guys to take a look at these 3 triangles I have at the bottom. If you notice something, all 3 side lengths are integers. They're whole numbers. As opposed to the first 2 examples I showed you, where that wasn't the case, right? Like in this one, you have a 4, a 6, and then a 7.2 decimal. A 7, a 7.14, and a 10. We also have a decimal. Now there exists an infinite amount of these where they're called Pythagorean triplets. And if you already know these, good for you. You are already set and good to go for this exam. If you don't, I highly recommend you memorize these. Now, obviously, you don't have to know all of them. You just have to know these 3 for the SAT. They're the most commonly used. In fact, I've never seen any other triplets used. And they probably, like anytime you get a right triangle and you have to find a missing side length, it's likely going to be a triplet. I don't remember the last time I had to actually use the Pythagorean theorem. So, and I guess I'll prove it to you real quick, right? 3 squared plus 4 squared has to give you 5 squared. That's basically what this is saying. And if you do the math, 9 plus 16 will give you 25. Right? So if I get a triangle and this is 3 and that's 5, immediately I know, without doing the Pythagorean theorem, that has to be 4. Same thing here, right? If they don't tell me that, you see a 6 and a 10, immediately you know that has to be an 8. And by the way, the 3, 4, 5 and the 6, 8, 10, it's basically the same triplet, except that I just multiply the 3, the 4, and the 5 by 2, right? By 2, so times 2 to get the 6, 8, 10. So really, you just got to remember this one, and remember that you can multiply it by any number to get another triplet. The last one's the 5, 12, 13. Same thing, guys, right? 5 squared plus 12 squared will give you 13 squared. 25 plus 144 will give you 169. So again, if you see this on the test, and you got the 5 and the 12 immediately, 13. Now, last thing I have to mention, be very careful, because you will memorize this. Right? You will memorize this, hopefully. But then they're going to try to get you. So let's say you're on the test, and you see this. And you're like, oh, yo, Renan taught me this, right? It's 3, 4, 5. So you're like, yeah, of course, that's a 4. Wrong. That's not right. The largest leg, the hypotenuse has to be the longest leg. So the 3, 4, 5 only works when 5 is the longest leg, right? The 3 and the 4, the legs, the smaller legs, they can interchange. It doesn't matter. Like, this could technically be 4, and that could technically be 3. That's fine, as long as the hypotenuse is 5. Also, another common mistake, people will see this, and they're like, oh yeah, 3, 4, 5. No, people, no. You have to at least see 2 of the legs, right? You have to see at least a 3 and a 4. Then you can be like, all right, that's a 5. So be very careful with this, guys. Memorize the three triplets, and that's it. Peace.